Hello, my name is Catherine, and I'm representing Group 2A. That also includes Mary Beth and Sam. The topic I'm introducing today is the importance of capping insulin prices for all patients so that we can increase accessibility, which would result in better long-term quality health outcomes as well. We believe that capping insulin prices will allow for four things to happen. 1, lowering patients' out-of-pocket expenses will make it much more likely that diabetics will be able to adhere to their treatment regimens. 2, patients that can manage their own diabetes closely will live longer and healthier lives. 3, diabetics that comply with their treatment regimens can save the United States billions of dollars every year by significantly reducing the risks of developing serious health complications. And lastly, it will result in increased health equity for minority populations. A disturbing 1 in 4 diabetic patients underuse their insulin due to cost-related barriers, and 40% of those were people within minority groups. This was found from a study in 2019 by Herkert et al. Monthly diabetic monitoring equipment and supplies are so costly. Check out Table 1 to see the astronomically rising prices for diabetic supplies over the past 2 decades. Capping insulin prices would be a huge step in helping diabetics to be able to afford the cost of proper diabetic management. Benefits of better compliance of diabetes management will result in longer, healthier lives and reduce other healthcare costs by avoiding comorbidities. Moini et al. Lists many complications of unmanaged diabetes that I believe most of us will be familiar with. They include cardiovascular disease and heart attacks, kidney disease and hypertension, as well as the increased risk of stroke. Recent estimates released by Zakiri in the American Journal of Managed Care finds that these comorbidities resulting from long-term non-compliance can cost the United States an extra $16 billion a year in healthcare costs. Our opponents may argue that we cannot cap insulin prices because there is a high cost of development. While we acknowledge that generally this argument is true about medication production, insulin, however, has been around for more than 100 years. Even the newest products are over 20 years old. Please look at Table 2 and you will see how high our cost of insulin in the United States is compared to other countries. United States citizens are driving across the border to Canada to get their insulin because the U.S. is 8 times more expensive than Canada, according to the graph by Statista. The costs aren't high because insulin isn't expensive to develop. This is pure greed. Our opponents may debate the fact that we are a capitalist country and it's a free market. However, the only way free markets work is if there's competition. According to Van Nuys, there are only 3 companies that produce a majority of insulin in the country. With such limited competition and desperate people willing to pay anything to stay alive, there's no incentive to keep prices down. This is also a medical ethics issue. Safe, quality, and equitable health care should be the goal of all medical health professionals. Sadly, we are still seeing a huge disparity in diabetes-related care. If you look at Table 3, you will see the glaring facts that deaths in minority populations in the United States from diabetes are 1.5 to 2 times higher than white Americans. Capping prices to make diabetes management more affordable and reduce the disproportionate amount of minorities dying from this disease is really the only humane and ethical choice. To summarize, capping insulin prices just makes sense. It makes financial sense because non-compliant diabetics cause billions of dollars in healthcare costs, and they can experience comorbidities which can reduce their quality of life and their lifespan. And we know insulin is relatively inexpensive to produce because we can see how cheap and affordable it is in other countries. It makes ethical sense because the United States minority populations already face healthcare disparities as well, plus higher death rates. And this is one huge way that we can ensure minority populations experience increased health equity. In closing, I would like to share Alec Holt's story that was shared by his mother on PBS News. Alec had just turned 26 and aged out of health care coverage on his parents' insurance, and he made too much money at his job to qualify for government the patient assistant programs. Getting low on his insulin, he decided to begin rationing what was left of his insulin until he could pay for it with his next paycheck. Sadly, he died from diabetic ketoacidosis. We need to do better than this for our diabetic citizens. No one should be dying because they cannot afford medication that's so easy and cheap to produce. Thank you so much for listening.